First, let me offer my prayers. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamne. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Bhasharcha Desatarane. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. So today we are having the summary study of 15th chapter. Hope my voice is audible for everyone. So I have few slides here to share with you. So let's go one by one from the beginning of the title of this chapter. So this chapter is titled The Yoga of Supreme Person. Yoga has, the word yoga has a different meanings, and one prominent meaning that Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of International Society of Krishna Consciousness, gave is it's a linking process. That's called yoga. Now, this chapter links us or brings us very close to the Supreme Person, Lord Krishna. So that's why the chapter is titled as the yoga of Supreme Person. So let's go in step by step how it is a supreme yoga. So in this chapter, in verse 18, Lord Krishna addresses himself as Pratita Purushottamaha. So Purushottama means it's the greatest in among all Purushas. Purusha means the enjoyer. In that's one meaning. So the Lord, the God, is celebrated as Supreme Person, and He's the greatest. So the Lord is telling that He's a greatest personality. So now, and also, He's explaining how He is great. So let us see how He is great, how He is a Supreme Person. So in 12th chapter, in 12th verse of this chapter, it is said that by Krishna himself, Adaditya Gadam Tejo Jagat Bhasayate Akhilam. So the splendor, the meaning runs like this. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. So today, scientists are doing a lot of research to understand the source of energy of the sun, why and how the sun is emitting a lot of energy. But here Krishna is saying that it's because of my tejas, it's because of my, um, the light emitting from his body. That is there in another Upanishad. That because of that energy, the sun gains, not only sun of our universe. In Vedic scriptures, it said that there are innumerable universes in this material world, and there are many, many suns, and all suns deriving the power from Krishna. So Krishna must be the supreme then. And then in following verse, he says that Gama Vishya Chabhutani Dharayam Yahamochasa. So Gama Vishya, of all, among all planets, whichever planet moves around any star, all the planets derive energy from Krishna to stay in their orbits. So, well, we know that there is a gravitational force which keeps the planets move around, and the source of the gravitational force is also explained to some degree by some theories of physics. But Krishna here saying that energy comes from me. So definitely he must have very supremely power. He must have that power. And in the same verse he says that Pushnami Chaushadhi Somo Bhutva. He says that, well, we taste food every day, and different foods taste differently. And here Lord Krishna is saying that the vegetables are getting different tastes because of my energy in the form of moon. So he says that it's not only sun, I became the moon also, and showering the moon rays on vegetables, and I am supplying the juice to them, the taste. So it means Krishna occupied, or Krishna is revealing about himself and his energies through different means. In the same chapter, he says that Pachami Annam Chaturvidham, I am the digestive power of all living beings. In other words, whenever we take food and that food gets digested, we know that the liver functions, pancreas functions, and different enzymes, and they are responsible for digesting the food we take. But the process of digesting is orchestrated or organized or controlled by the Supreme Lord. So without his help, we cannot even digest our food, we cannot even move. In previous chapters, the Lord said that because of his energy in the form of the nature, the Prakriti, we are able to carry our functions in this world. So at every step, we are taking help from the Lord. And in 15th chapter, in 15th verse, he says that Sarvasya Chaham Hrudi Sannivisto. He not only helping physically for our function in this world, but he also guides us at different levels. How he guides us? He says that I am seated in everyone's heart. So as super soul. So Lord Krishna expanded as super soul, and then he stayed within the heart of every living being. Now some people, they claim that because the Supreme Soul is there, so we are Supreme Soul. Every living being is Supreme Soul. Some people claim that, but Krishna is not approving that. That already he ruled out in 14th chapter. In one verse he says that along with me, along with the soul in every living being, I am also there. So that clearly ruled out that there are two souls in every body. That is, one is the individual soul, that is we, and second is Lord Krishna as super soul. He lives, and then he observes all our actions. We are fruit-eating bird. In one Upanishad, it's compared that we are fruit-eating bird. It means we try to enjoy the results of our works. The other soul, that is super soul, is observing bird. So it means he observed, and not only he observes what we do at every moment, he observes even our psychic activities. He observes what we think in our mind and what we do, and whether are we thinking of good for others or bad for others or anything he observes. He completely observes. Then what he does and how he helps us by observing. In the same verse he continues, matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. So not only he's seated, but he is giving or doing three things, primarily three things. He does many things, but primarily three things. He says that smruti. Smruti means remembrance. So he gives us remembrance. So what is a remembrance? Any remembrance, whether it's a spiritual or material. any remembrance, it's coming from Krishna. In other words, the memory power in our brain is actually is controlled by him. Um, and it is true also, that's not in our control. Although we may desire to remember certain things and to forget certain things, but ultimately it's not in our control. For example, the neuroscientists say that there are certain levels of sodium. If they get imbalanced or reduced, then we will forget all our memory. So then it looks like a chemical process, but the connection between the sodium levels and our memory power is obviously controlled by some higher energy. So here Krishna is saying that I am that controller. I am controlling that remembrance of everyone. And also he says that apohanam. Apohanam means forgetfulness. I give forgetfulness to them, to every living being. And also the knowledge. I give the knowledge, any kind of knowledge, whether it's a manipulation of material energy by producing different electronic gadgets or different variety of inventions, or it may be any kind of, it may be a scriptural knowledge. Here, the picture shows that, all right, there's a Vedic knowledge written by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Um, so that's also coming from Krishna. All knowledge is coming from Krishna. Now then a question may be asked, okay, then why Lord gives a forgetfulness to some people and remembrance to some other people? Because say if a very high memory power, those persons go into high ladders in society, um, and then why some people are getting forgetfulness, why Krishna is doing those things differently in different people. That's because of our own desires. Because we are individual, the Lord is individual, we have desires, and Lord is supplier to fulfill our desires. And according to our desires, the Lord gives us either knowledge, remembrance, or forgetfulness. But he already said in previous chapters that although I do all these things, but I'm not responsible for your actions because it's your desire, you wanted to do, so I'm sanctioning them. As a loving father, I'm sanctioning them, but you are responsible for all your activities and you're responsible for your own desires also. So according to those desires, I provide all these things. So that's what Krishna says. So, so now it's up to the individual, all of us, whether we want to go spiritually or we want to go materially, whether we want to remember God or we want to remember other than God, or we want to remember and serve the Supreme Lord, or we want to serve ourselves. It's the choice is ours. And according to that, Krishna gives all these three things. Now let's go to next slide. And he says that in the same verse, this is a very key verse of 15th chapter. Vedasya sarvair ahameva vedyo. So by all Vedas, I am to be known. So particularly those who have a Vedic background in India, so they think that the Vedas are very multi-branch, and also they are there just to help us for our conducting of our life in this world, or they are there just to give us knowledge or to make us intellectual, as XYZ. There are many ideas of Vedas why they are there. But here Lord Krishna is telling that the purpose of existence of Vedas. So he's saying that the purpose is to know him. It means to know Krishna. So that's the purpose of existence of Vedas. So now I'll come to the next slide. What is that knowing him, knowing God? What does that mean? I'll come to next in following slides. And not only that, he says that he is the compiler and knower of the Vedas. In other words, the original person who knows everything is God. And because Lord has a capacity to know something, we derive that capacity from the Lord to know something. And he compiled all the Vedas. Now, if you come to the history, some people say that the Vedas are man-written and Vedas were written some few thousands years ago, and they are purely addition of humans to the human society. Some people say like that, but here Krishna defying that. In second chapter, he says that he is eternal. It means he is out of the time zone. Whenever you can talk about the time, some trillions of billions of years ago, billions of trillions of years ago, he existed. And in fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gītā, also he says that I existed eternally in this eternally. So the original knower is Lord Krishna, and he only gave the Vedas. And there are some other scriptural references where the Vedas were given by Lord Brahma, and then what is the correct one? Well, it's very simple. A teacher teaches and student hears, and the student again repeats to some other people. Then what is the source of that knowledge? Is it the student or is it the original teacher? So it's the original teacher. So the original teacher is Lord Krishna, and Lord Brahma learned from Lord Krishna. That is confirmed by Bhagavatam. And Lord Brahma again gave that knowledge to descendants. So here Lord Krishna is emphatically saying that he is the original compiler and knower of the Vedas, and it comes in a descending fashion from Lord to the people who are representing the parampara system. So what does that mean, knowing of the Lord? Well, if I say that I know so and so person, like president, prime minister of India, or president of any country, if I say that I know that person, and if I say that, oh, he's such he's tall, say 6 feet, or he's fair in color or dark in color, or he does this. Uh, is that really knowing that person? Well, to some extent, we can say that yes, we know that person. But the actual knowing of the person is understanding his character, understanding his nature, understanding his habits, understanding his dealings with others, whether is he dealing others in a loving manner or in a harsh manner, or how far he is helping others, or how far he is um, supporting others and others' lives, others' happiness, or is he causing distress to others, or is he causing the happiness to others? So understanding all these things, actually understanding the person. So um, so Krishna says that there is a one place um, in space, and that place I lived there. And in this chapter, in 6th verse, Krishna says that Yad gatva nanavartante tadhama paramam mama. So whoever goes to that place where the Supreme Lord stays, and they don't have to return to this mortal material world. And what he does there, well, he's very enjoyable person, and originally we also belong to that world and enjoying his association. And here, a few pictures are showing that these are the scriptural references. The painters gave us, the artist gave us a visualization of the scriptural descriptions where Lord Krishna is enjoying with the Gopas, his friends, his friends, and he's enjoying with every living being in spiritual world. Um, and we are also living beings, and we belong to Krishna, and Krishna is calling us to come back to that world, and just for our own enjoyment. Why he's calling us, why he doesn't want us to stay in this world? Because by nature this world is designed, is meant to give us problems, because the other living beings along with us are um, imprisoners in this world. As a result, we are suffering by going away from God. So what are the sufferings? So this slide is showing that how every living being enjoys the personal presence of Krishna. And if anyone doesn't want this kind of life, and then this is a struggle. This is not, by the way, this is not the struggles given by God. That's a misunderstanding. God will never give us troubles. It's we only create troubles ourselves. In various ways, we put ourselves in troubles. And Krishna says that every living being is his uh, expansion or his amsha. He says that it means every living being has relation with him. But whoever denies that relation, he is struggling in this world. Prakriti sthani karshati. So karshati means a very, very hard struggle. And prakriti sthani. So due to conditioned life, the living entities are suffering in this world. So what are the suffering? There are endless problems in this world, and suffering comes, from different directions. There may be relationship. There are an innumerable problems. There are relationship problems which are growing, ever increasing. There are psychological problems and economic problems and our own body problems, by old age and diseases, and there are natural calamities, and there are social injustice problems. Um, so all these problems, Srila Prabhupada writes in one of the purport of this chapter that these problems are all rooted in one primary problem, because that problem is we are not admitting that or understanding that the all property of this world belong to God. It means the God is original proprietor because he created, so he only owns everything. But in between, um, living beings or humans, they're claiming that the property belongs to a certain individual and he has a right to do whatever he wants. So that's creating a complete imbalance in material world. So if one solves that problem in his life at acknowledging and understanding and realizing that the Lord is the actual proprietor of everything we own and everyone owns in this world, then all problems will be solved just like that. So that's what the Lord is saying. Now, now how this struggle in this world goes, continues. That's in few verses, in 2 or 3 verses, I think. The Lord is explaining that the soul has two coverings. That one is a subtle covering, and on top of that is a gross covering. So the subtle covering consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So this is subtle covering. It means that covering is not visible to our gross senses. And on top of that, the gross covering, which is visible in the form of body, and that body consists of primarily five senses. So the five senses here, they are mentioned: ear, eye, skin, nose, and tongue. So these are all five are called knowledge acquiring senses, and these senses interact with this world and gain knowledge and sense to the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego, and then process it. And then soul, we, the individuals, the souls, continue in this world. And it's because the desire is the quality of the soul, inseparable quality of the soul. And whoever desires in a bad way, and they are offered a different set of senses according to their desire, according to what they deserve. Say, suppose if anyone wants, in every body, in particularly, when a soul takes human body, they have certain responsibilities. They have to exercise compassion to other living beings. But if they don't exercise that, if they don't, if they want to mistreat other living beings as a karmic reaction, they are imprisoned into different other lives. And if they have certain desires to kill others, okay, Lord says that, okay, since because you have this desire to kill others, it's not possible on human platform, because the human body is given to execute a higher responsibilities. But still, if any soul keeps those desires, then the Lord, as a karmic reaction, he is awarded other carnivorous animal bodies. And if at all, if some person is exercising his responsibilities in a proper manner, they'll be awarded higher bodies. For example, a government employee exercises his free will and his responsibilities in a proper manner, and then he will be given higher and higher and higher responsibilities, and also facilities to execute those responsibilities. So such kind of responsibilities are given to certain souls and who act as demigods, like we know Brahma, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, Lokapalas. Um, so these are all many demigods are there. They are actually universal administrators given a functional facilities or services to them to rule or to administer their duties in the entire universe. So these demigods do their duties and provide facilities for living beings to conduct their life as per their desires in this world. But in whichever body they take, there will always be a struggling because of their conditioning in this world. So now let's come to the beginning of this chapter. As we discussed, every soul quality, one of the quality is desire. Now, with that desire, if they decide to do to harm others or to do good to others, then they'll be implicated by their actions. So it's called karma. It's called karma, karmic reactions. Now, if by the same desire, if they use to develop their relation with God and trying to becoming His servant, then then they will come out of that karmic reactions, the karmic network. So here Lord Krishna says that this network is compared to a tree where Its branches, roots, leaves, twigs grow in all directions, upwards, downwards. And then he very clearly says that where and how and when this tree began, no one knows. But he says that this is the twigs represent and this entrapment or the branches, everything represents our karmic reactions and activities. So one may be entrapped by this kind of life which is completely devoid of the Supreme Lord. They are entrapped in this tree. It may be even in the name of religiosity also. This is very interesting. Even a person can be trapped in this material world in the name of religion also. So that possibility is there. So then what is the solution? Well, Lord Krishna says that um, one has to cut this tree by the power of knowledge. So that knowledge is given in Bhagavad Gītā. And also, particularly the process to come out of this, to break this knowledge, Krishna explained in 5th verse. He explains that how one is trapped in this world. See, when we know how to enter, how we entered in a room, if we know that, then we can come out of that room very easily through the very same door. Similarly, the Lord is explaining that how we entered in this material world and struggling. What is that which is trapping us? That is our uh, certain impurities called false ego and pride, envy. So these are Shadvargas. You must have heard these 6 impurities. So because of our desire to enjoy by separating from God, so we are entrapped by these desires. So these impurities. Primarily, Prabhupada emphasized the example that I gave, the proprietorship example. Originally, we are pure. Like a water is pure, and if any mud or any other colored substance is added to water, then the water becomes impure. But if those impurities are removed from the water, and again the water is pure and original. Similarly, we the living beings are very, very pure. But when we are contaminated with the impurities, then it's called we have contaminated consciousness. So the process is to get rid of these impurities. Now, Krishna himself gave this knowledge in Vedas, but understanding that we, the living beings, are unable to understand this knowledge in a proper manner, are rather misusing the knowledge. So he descended as his devotee. He himself descended as his devotee and then gave a means of a mantra chanting. By chanting this, our mind becomes purified, our senses becomes enlivened, and we will get our original consciousness back, and that's called Krishna consciousness. So with that, the summary is over. By the process to link with the Supreme Person is this. In previous chapters, the Lord said that Ajnanam Japayajñosmi. He says that among all yajnas, among all sacrifices, I am the japa sacrifice. So this chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If anyone wants peace from these material problems, and that the holy name can offer, but holy name can offer much more. The top class benediction the holy name can offer, the holy name of Krishna. Not only that, it keeps the effects of Kali away in our lives, but the topmost offering that it offers is our love for Him. We will again revive, we can revive. The full potency in this holy name is there to revive our connection with Lord and our love with Lord. And whoever desires that, then the Lord facilitates that to provide that relation, to give that knowledge to us. That remember in 15th verse, he gives the knowledge, right? So whoever develops, takes this initiative to serve the Supreme Lord, then the Lord gives that knowledge to us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful session. PPT was very enlightening and very people are very from past 4 or 5 days they are seeing the slides and they're very happy to see the slides and able to understand the subject matter very clearly. Prabhuji, we'll be inviting questions, Prabhuji.
Sure.
Those who have questions, they can please raise the hand or you can send through chat. So Prabhuji will answer the questions. Till the time question comes, you can just share some, throw some light on more on this chapter, something maybe. Yes, Prajit. Sorry, Prajit. Question has come.
Okay.
What is Sanatana? Can you please explain more about this?
Okay.
Vedantam Ramesh sir is asking.
Okay. The literal meaning of Sanatana means eternal. So what is eternal? That's called Sanatana. In other words, um, generally the Sanatan is used to refer to Dharma. So Dharma means, it also has different meanings. So Dharma means the quality. That's one, that's one meaning. So what is eternal or everlasting or always exists in us, that's called Sanatana. For example, let's take this body. So this body is temporary and also ever changing. So it means that's not Sanatana because it doesn't exist forever. But what exists forever then? Okay, a soul exists forever. That's Krishna said very emphatically in second chapter 12th verse. So it means the soul is Sanatana. Okay. Now, what exists along with soul? Or let's take sweet for example. Okay. Is there any meaning of sweet without sweetness? There's no meaning. In other words, when we say sweet, the sweetness is included within that name. Similarly, the saltiness is the nature of salt. So that's called dharma. It's a accompanying factor. So that's called is dharma. Similarly, there are accompanying truths of soul. What are those truths? For example, one we already discussed, the soul is eternal. It means it is sanatana. And similarly, the qualities of soul, they are also sanatana. What are the qualities of the soul? For example, faith. Faith is quality of the soul. Without faith, there is no meaning of soul. And similarly, a free will. So free will also is the quality of the soul. So whatever exists eternally, that's called Sanatana. So the Lord exists forever. So the Lord is Sanatana. Similarly, we, the living beings, exist forever. Life after life, in this material world and in spiritual world forever. So we are also Sanatana. And all the qualities, with which we can recognize the Sanatana, so those qualities also are called Sanatana. That's what Sanatana means.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we have a question from One Mataji, she is asking a question. I'll
Okay.
unmute her. Hare Krishna Mataji, you can ask the question.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, please explain me 18th verse of this chapter.
Okay. 18th verse of this chapter.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So the translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada goes like this. Because I'm transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. So, in a sense, we have already discussed this. Lord Krishna here saying that I am the greatest. So, how he is greatest, thus we discussed through many examples. I'm not sure at what time you joined this meeting, but
No, Prabhuji.
in the same chapter,
Excuse me,
Krishna
Prabhuji.
explained
Prabhuji,
how he is great.
I want
Yes,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
yes.
Especially, I want this last paragraph of this verse, Prabhuji. The
Oh,
Supreme
sure.
Lord in His localized aspect of Paramatma. Thus,
Yes.
that paragraph means
Okay.
I didn't understood.
Okay. So I'll read this maybe some this 12 lines paragraph again, and then you will see. The Supreme Lord, in his localized aspect of Paramatma, is also described in the Vedas themselves. The following verse appears in the Vedas, Chandogya Upanishad 8.12.3. In this, it said, the super soul coming out of the body enters the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Then, in his form, he remains in his spiritual identity. That supreme is called the Supreme Personality. So, in other words, whenever a soul freshly entrapped in this world, the Lord expanded form of super soul enters into that new body of the soul. And then, as long as the soul continues in this material world, the super soul continues his existence. Okay. And the moment the soul gets purified completely, then the soul goes back to spiritual world. There, the Paramatma feature is redundant in spiritual world because the Lord is there in front of living being. So the super soul existence is redundant there. So the super soul comes out of that person's body at that time of the soul going back to spiritual world, and then enters into this spiritual world, passing through the Brahma Jyoti. That's called
Okay.
Brahman.
Okay, that means that if we are taking so many births according to our karma, at that
Yes,
time the super soul is with us only.
the
Then
super soul accompanies us always.
okay, even in sufferings also, super soul is accompanies with us only.
Sufferings for super soul?
No, not sufferings. Sufferings for our soul. If we leave our body, then we have to get some more body or something according to our karma.
Yes,
Then, in between these period and after leaving our body and getting the another body, there is a some period. In that period, we have to go some naraka or punya karma or something else. Then
yes,
at that time, super soul is with us or not?
yes, with us. Super soul never leaves us. There is no moment
Okay.
super soul leaves a living being.
Okay, means at the time of after we are purified, then we are go back to guided, then only super soul lives with us.
Yes, super soul, releases or releases or gets away from us because there is a higher feature than super soul, that is Bhagavan feature, and that Bhagavan, with that Bhagavan feature, we are forming our last relation. So at that time, the super soul relation becomes redundant. It's not necessary.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Prabhuji, very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, we have a question in chat, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Karthik Reddy, he is asking, Super Soul is observes everything, then why don't control normal soul?
Well, he actually controlled once upon a time at the beginning of our separation from God, but as a very stubborn souls, when a soul denies that controlship over us by Lord, then the Lord, as a loving person, he doesn't exercise that control directly. Like, for example, as a loving father, the father may say different things to his son or daughter. Do this, don't do that. This creates problem to us. That solves your problem, or your life will be happy. All these things. But if the child doesn't agree, then as a loving father, he says, and then maybe sometimes once or twice he may say very strongly also. But still, if child doesn't listen, then father says that, okay, then you do whatever you want, because you don't want, you know, um, you don't want try to understand what I'm saying. So the super soul also is like that. The God is like that. He already told us many, many times, but we don't want, uh, him to control us. But when we turn towards him and desire actively being controlled by him, the Lord is very happy to control us as a loving person. So it's our choice. It's not God's choice. Whether to accept that love or not, it is our choice. So if we desire that, again, if we start developing that, then the Lord involves in his life. Otherwise, he will not involve. Like, for example, you must have heard the famous episode where the Arjuna Pandavas trying to secure Krishna's favor, and the Kauravas, so Duryodhana, representative of Kauravas, he also came to secure from Krishna, right, before war. But guess who chose what? Arjuna chose Krishna, right? So then Krishna helped him because Arjuna chose. But Duryodhana did not choose Krishna. So Krishna withdrawn from that relation externally. But as super soul, he always helps us to fulfill our desires. Okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. We
Yes.
have one more question, Prabhuji. Santosh is asking, after dying, how how long will one soul be in the Pitraloka? When will the soul go to hell for the mistake they did before taking birth again?
It's not fixed from soul to soul. There are many, many instances recorded in scriptures that a soul immediately went to Narakaloka and then started, punishments, getting punishments, or, it depends on their activities and what they deserve. So it's not fixed for one soul to another soul. And it's not guarantee also. Like if a very, very highly sinful soul, he will not enter higher planets. Pitraloka is a higher planetary system. So he will not enter. Because of the extreme sinful activities, he will be put directly into hellish planets. So it depends on person to person.
Yes, Prabhuji. Can I go to next question, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Karthik Reddy is raising a hand, Prabhuji. Karthik Reddy, sir, can you unmute? Yes, you can ask.
Hello.
Hello.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I use one statement. Those who reach my abode never returns to this material. But we are coming from actually from that world. Again, we have practicing like chanting.
Yes.
Again, we go to spiritual world.
Okay.
But
So
Lord says, never returns to this material. Actually, we are from that world only.
that's first time.
Okay.
Here, the Lord is saying, addressing the souls who are trapped in material world, right? So it
Yes.
means they have already came to this world. So this is the second time. So once we learned our lessons, and then by Krishna's protection, we won't come back again. So your
Okay.
question is why we came at first place? That's what your question?
No. Actually, we are from previous
Spiritual world,
lives, spiritual world.
right?
But our fulfilling our desires coming to in this material world.
No, we stayed in this material world because of fulfilling the desire. Originally, we won't have those material desires, okay?
Okay.
Okay, originally we don't have those material desires, but at some point of time, along with Lord, um, if we have contact with this matter or this material world, and only souls who develop that desire by separating from God, they only, trapped in this world, but not others.
Okay. And I mean, if we practicing in devotional way from this point of time, at certain point
Mm.
of time, we may have any chances to go to that world again.
Yes, absolutely, we have chances. We have absolute chances, right?
If I am going that world this time also, whether I am come back to return this material world again or
we
not.
won't we won't this comeback, we have to understand that a little bit, more clearly. This comeback is not the physical comeback. Okay, this comeback is in consciousness. It
Okay.
means, say, after many years, next time again when Krishna comes, for example, the souls who are perfected, uh, like say if you are perfected and if you are with Krishna, you may accompany him. Along with him, you may come back to world, but that's not coming back to this world. That's not considered as coming back to this world, because in consciousness, that relation with Krishna will always exist. So that cannot be considered as a coming back. The coming back means again desiring, falling down, or going away from God. That can never happen. Okay?
Okay. Hare Krishna.
It should be understood in both ways: physical comeback and physically not. And in consciousness, there won't be coming back. Okay?
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Praji.
Yes, bro.
We have one more question, Praji.
Yes, bro.
Subhash Hoti, he is asking, why all this process of birth, misery, death, etc.? Why not all souls rest with Lord once and for all?
Well, we rested once upon a time like that with Lord. But then, see, imagine the impurity of a becoming, coming out of our natural position of servant position. So what is the opposite to that? The opposite to that is, comparing with God, or that the misunderstanding about God is that God is dominating everyone. That's a misunderstanding. That God never dominates anyone. He always loves. But with the misunderstanding that the God is dominating, and as a result he is enjoying, so we also try to dominate others. So when we try to dominate others and deriving happiness out of it, then we are responsible for that. And a facility for that is the material body. It cannot happen in spiritual world without spiritual bodies. So, so, so because of the desire to dominate others, so as the moment we desire that, any soul desires that or comes, disconnects himself from the Lord, So as a karmic reaction, we owns responsibility for our actions. Till that, God owns responsibility. But the moment we desire our own happiness, we owns responsibility. And in dominating, definitely disturbing others will be there. So when one disturbs others in whatever manner, whatever level, so as a karmic reaction, the suffering will come. So that suffering is because of that. The birth, death, disease, all these things are because of that. Okay, in Nectar of Devotion, it was written by, I'm not sure ever you're aware of the literature written by Srila Prabhupada. There is one book called Nectar of Devotion, which was written by Rupa Goswami 500 years ago roughly. And Srila Prabhupada gave a summary study of those teachings, Nectar of Devotion. In that book, our Acharya Rupa Goswami very clearly, explicitly writes that the moment a soul desires a separation from God, from that time onwards, the soul starts experiencing death and experiencing the change in their body from spiritual to material. So, because we own responsibility, so we get them back. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can we go to next question, Prabhu?
Yes.
Uma madam is asking a question. Can you please unmute, madam? Hare Krishna.
Audible, sir? Hello, am I audible, sir?
No, it's not audible. Can you speak a bit louder, madam?
Is it okay now, sir? Hello, is it okay now?
Yes, yes. Prabhuji, you are able to hear, Prabhuji?
Yes, I'm able to hear, but it's still somewhat not clear. But maybe if you understand the question, you can repeat the question.
I'm just asking now, sir. The thing is, when a soul takes up a body, so its lifetime is predetermined. That's what we understand. And in certain cases, it takes an abnormal death. When we say an soul leaves the body abnormally before completing its lifespan, it's not able to proceed. So till its lifespan, it's keep moving about with other material bodies in this world. So if a lifespan has been predetermined already, why this unnatural death should occur, and then the soul should get entangled in this sort of a situation?
Okay. Okay. So when we say that, or when scriptures say that the lifespan is fixed, that doesn't mean that the full lifespan is there. That's not what it means. When the lifespan is fixed, it's based on two things: what they deserve and what are they desiring. So that because of what they deserve is based on their past bad and good activities and reactions to them. So as a bad reaction, if a person deserved to be killed, say in an accident or in some manner, so that's a lifespan fixed for that particular soul. And if and having said that, if lifespan is fixed, it is fixed. Say suppose let's take the time now, so and so date, say 7 o'clock, 2 minutes now. Okay. Now our lifespan based on our past is fixed right now. Now depend on my habits, based on my decisions, my choices. Now my lifespan will vary again. So it's fixed in a sense of the calculations as per that time moment. Okay. Now it depends further. Say suppose I got a disease, for example. Now since my lifespan is fixed, So suppose if I don't go to hospital or go to hospital, that choice is still with me. So that choice determines again, you know, whether, you know, I may survive a little longer time or not. So at a particular time is fixed, but based on our choices that may vary. For example, I may drive car, you know, in a very, very diligently, but at some point of time I may drive, maybe I may become inattentive, for example. So my inattentiveness is a part of reason for my untimely death, for example. So it's fixed, that's true, but it's not fixed forever. It's a variable fixed.
In most of the cases, as you say, so like our desire changes our lifespan. But
Yes, definitely.
in
Definitely.
certain cases, in certain
Say
cases,
suppose, say suppose a person brought up in a very, very clean, you know, very healthy environment, but somehow by friendship or, you know, by with others, or, you know, he may get bad habits of, you know, alcoholic or smoking or, you know, sudden bad habits. Okay, then definitely his lifespan will be decided in the deciding of his lifespan. These two also will be factors. So the soul, always active and always with the free will, chooses certain decisions. So those also will be included in the final calculation of lifespan.
there may be there are situations where like innocently the soul gets caught. Like for example, a person is walking on the road, and due to reckless driving of another person, he happens to lose his life. It is not his
But
fault. It
yes, that
has.
is true. But that is true. But who knows the other person did in his past? See, there will never happen a bad thing to a good person. It's not possible. It's simply impossible. Unless there is a stored bad karmic reaction, a bad thing can never happen to a person. But that doesn't mean that they are bad people. They may be doing good people at that particular moment. Okay, so definitely that good will be rewarded. But if their bad reaction is stored in their life, then at some point of time, without their notice or without their willingness, you know, some mishap or some calamity can happen in their lives because of the past bad reactions.
Okay. In this situation, actually, what happens to that soul before it is able to move
So
out of this?
according to their journey, I mean their again same things, what they deserve further, and what are their current set of desires, and they will take next body. If it is not a suicidal, if it is suicidal, then they won't take next body immediately. It is because their own desire to exit from out of the body by committing suicide. So as a punishment for that, they will not be given body immediately. They have to wait the predetermined time slot. Say suppose if a person had to die, say at the age of 60, but the person committed suicide at the age of 30. So it means those 30 years, they will not take another body. They have to suffer without body. And at that predetermined tenure of their death, and again, the process begins, going to next body, next body, next body.
One more question, sir, in
Yes.
this regard. Actually, I mean, because we are in this materialist world, as it's been projected that such souls, they cause damage, they cause harm to other living people. Are their souls capable of those things?
Okay, maybe if I understand your question correctly, there are some souls who try to damage others.
That's what it has been projected. Maybe for like in movies, it is just for entertainment, or we have certain stories which we
Okay,
hear.
okay. In general, in general, let's take two persons, X and Y. Okay. Now, if X tries to harm Y, okay, that event can become successful only when Y deserves that according to the Y's karmic background, and when X, with X's free will, with his free will, desires to do that bad to Y. Okay, when these two are matched, then the event becomes successful. Successful in the sense X will become successful in damaging Y. Otherwise, in any way, it will fail. Either Y can escape from the X's, or X may not desire to harm others, or except the matching. In any other situation, it will fail. The event will not become successful. So this is how the karma works.
Thanks a lot, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We have a
Yes.
question from chat, Prabhuji. How to know some thought which arises in us is from God or a conditioned thought?
All thoughts are arised from the soul. Root is soul. Okay. Because the soul is completely individual. Although soul has a relation with God, okay, in terms of invisible relation, that is why the Lord says, Mamaeva Amsha. Every living being is part. So, Srila Prabhupada used the word part and parcel. It means we, the souls, are part of God, but at the same time, we have separated parcel. Parcel means, package, parcel, right? Separated. So, any thought, any idea, or any whatever psychic activity that is generated by we, the individual soul. It's not God generated. But there is only one condition in case of the Lord's personal associates, like Arjuna, for example. So such kind of souls, they are already purified. They are already, always on eternal platform in relation with God. So for such kind of souls, temporarily, the Lord gives certain thoughts so that he can trigger certain events in his leelas. And then he will unfold his pastimes to give lessons for the conditioned souls in this material world. Only in that condition, the Lord may trigger certain thoughts himself. They are called infused thoughts. So in case of Arjuna, that happened before beginning the war, so that the Lord can take the opportunity to explain us about himself in the form of Bhagavad Gītā. So another example, that Kaikeyi desiring to banish Lord Rama to the forest is also actually one particular version of Ramayana, which is authorized Ramayana. It's not in Valmiki Ramayana, but it's another Ramayana. I couldn't recollect the name. There, it very clearly said that the Kaikeyi, she came to Lord Rama along with Bharata and Kausalya, right, to get Rama back. So at that time, Kaikeyi met Lord Rama personally and spoke to Lord Rama personally that I know I am your supreme personality of Godhead, but I couldn't understand why I desired like this to banish you, my Lord. So please protect me. So Kaikeyi prayed like that. So from that incident, we can understand that the thought of desiring to banish Rama to the forest is actually an infused thought in the mind of Kaikeyi. So only such kind of elevated, personalities who personally with Lord, sometimes that may happen, but not in a regular way and not every soul. particularly in conditioned soul, it can never happen. All thoughts are soul generated.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, bro.
We have Mataji. She is raising a question. Can you please unmute Mataji, Usha Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you. No, I have a slight different view on this desire and deserve thing, Prabhuji. But probably it's an agitated mind, so you may want to clarify. I mean, how can a three-year kid deserve to be raped? How can a 19-year
Okay.
kid deserve
Yeah.
to be raped?
Yes. Yes. See, we have to understand this karma as the beginning factor from the creation. And again, it lasts till the annihilation of this world. And again, next creation, the karma, the residue karma, whatever is left over, that will begin. Okay. So this is the top level picture. Okay. Now, um, there is a free will of everyone. Let's take, say, a doctor who is so very educated and who's supposed to protect the life of every person. But somehow, if he misuses his power and say abort a fetus, okay, in the womb, okay, so there are two sides to understand. Number one, the doctor misused his education, and the child or the fetus have to suffer because of that abortion. So now, because, okay, the fetus, what the fetus deserved. Number one, we don't know their background. Okay, that even every soul prone to forget their background. But take from doctor's point of view. So there will not be any reaction for the doctor that to kill a helpless, innocent fetus inside the womb who's had to take birth, develop even undeveloped body. So that person definitely will, generate the karmic reaction by killing like that. So that's the way the material world works. Different conditioned souls arranged, coming together and exchanging their karma. So we are seeing from the 3-year child point of view. What about the rapist point of view? Is it not a blunt misuse of his power? Definitely. So who knows what kind of punishments he will get in future? Let's say he escaped from law, court, for example. But then he cannot escape from a law of karma. So who knows what kind of punishments he will get in future? That doesn't mean that we minimize the souls, okay? But we have to understand from karmic point of view, that's a fact. Without doing any bad, it may be in previous lives, but those reactions will be stored in their account, in their life, because in the eternal journey, and at proper time they'll be matured and they receive the kind of reactions what they received.
Thank you, Prabhuji. We
Hare
have a question from chat, Prabhuji. Preeti Mataji, she is asking, Guruji, Hare Krishna, I want to know many of the Swamiji and Babas say they are evolved and God sent and people are following them. Then they are cheated and taken on the wrong path. Why they aren't awakened by Krishna on their wrongdoings?
Okay. So once when Srila Prabhupada went to one of the country in Western country, one reporter asked Prabhupada, thinking that Prabhupada will answer that he is a genuine guru? Thinking that, the reporter asked this question, Swamiji, there are many cheating gurus in this world. So there are many youth who are being cheated. So what is your suggestion for them? So reporter asked, but Prabhupada gave a very natural reply. He said that my suggestion is they have to be sincere in seeking the truth. He didn't say that who is genuine, who is not genuine. He said that they should be sincere in seeking the truth. Okay, so the Lord gives the knowledge depending on our sincerity or depending on our set of desires. The truth is the part of absolute truth is the existence of God, the existence of individual souls, and the loving exchanges between them. The souls are eternally servant of the Lord, and the Lord eternally the Supreme Lord. So this is the package of absolute truth. Now, whoever doesn't want to become servant of Lord, then it means that they don't want to come to their original state. It means they have a desire to, other than coming to the servant state. That other desire may be to control others, to dominate others, or to cheat others, or whatever the other desires. So then the Lord will arrange um, a suitable people who fulfills, the compatibility of your heart. But that's a conditioned stage. That's a conditioned stage. But the Lord clearly says that whoever seeks relation with me, I will give them the transcendental knowledge with which they can understand my nature very clearly, and then they can come back to me. So that's loss assurance. In other words, if one seeks sincerely what is actually the truth, then that person will be guided by Krishna, and no one can cheat that person.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, bro.
Prabhuji, we have one more question, Prabhuji.
Yes, bro.
Santosh is asking, if Pitruloka is a higher planet, why are we doing ritual for the dead? Since they would be disconnected from us in another planet, and will they go through childhood to old age as well in that planet?
I'm not sure the details of Pitruloka, and also I'm not sure every ancestor goes there. That at least right the moment I don't have any references with me. Okay, the activities of Shraddha ceremony. I hope you're relating your question with that, right? So that activity actually is to release any kind of a bad karma from the departed soul. So the activity actually involves offering the uh, sanctified food or purified food, which is called prasad, to the departed souls. Okay, and wherever they are, if the departed soul takes this prasad, then they'll get relieved from their sinful reactions, and then they continue their journey.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We have one
Yes.
question. Ramya Mataji, she is asking, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Why individual soul is given the free will, which is making the desire on material things and forgetting the desire to develop love Paramatma residing in the individual soul?
It's not given. That the thought that it is given is not appropriate, because the moment you say sweet, the sweetness is a concomitant factor. It's an inseparable factor. Similarly, the moment we say soul, The free will is built in it. It's not a separate thing. That's why it's called, we discussed in Sanatan, right? It's a quality, inseparable quality of the soul. It's not given to the soul at any time. It's out of the time zone. It's out of the time zone. It's always there. It's not that at some point of time the soul is without free will, and that's at a particular time the soul is given free will, and then the struggle began. No, that's not proper conception. Whereas the scriptural conception, which is proper conception, is the free will is always there, and because of the free will only, the loving exchanges will uh, will be made possible between the living beings and the Supreme Lord. Without that free will, there is no question of love. There is no question of love. Like, for example, a grown-up child, out of his free will, he brings his first earned salary to father, let's say. So that father happiness is more than a father who forces the son to give the first earned salary. Which one is better? Right? The force is opposite to love. So that free will is always there with the soul. It's not a given at some point of time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Uma madam is asking a question. She is asking a question.
Yes.
What are intuitions and supernatural powers of an individual?
Can you repeat the question?
What are intuitions and supernatural powers of an individual?
Okay, what are situations?
No.
Intuitions.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, intuition means you mean intuitively thinking something? That's what are you referring? I'm not clear about the question.
I will send a question, Prabhuji. You can see.
Yes. Okay, intuition. Okay. What are intuitions and supernatural powers of an individual? Well, see, the supernatural, the name itself says that they are not natural to, for common soul. They are some extraordinary, okay? So the supernatural powers, also, it is a conditioned life, but it may not be a pure life. It may not be a pure life. They exist, the supernatural powers, but it's not common. It's not common. But some people who gain the supernatural powers based on, again, the two things, what they desire and what they deserve. Okay? So if you ask the question, there are many supernatural powers, then why do they exist? Well, if a soul desires such kind of powers, then who else will give those, will award those powers? It's a Lord as super soul who fulfills everyone's desire. He may not fulfill immediately, but he's the only one. He's the one who fulfills all desires. So they exist, and the source is the Supreme Lord only.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
One more question from chat. Prabhuji, kindly explain Prarabdha, Sanchita and Agami karmas.
They are months.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Can you forward the question?
Yes.
It's not clear. Yeah. Okay, Prarabdha, Sanchita and Agami karmas. Okay. Uh, See, the terminology may be different, what you used. Rupa Goswami, one of the Acharya in Gaudiya Parampara line, he categorized with the reference of Padma Purana the karma into 4 categories or 4 stages. Okay, so the prarabdha is the karma which matured already. It means we did some activity, either bad or good. Now we are experiencing the result of it. So that's prarabdha. Okay, and aprarabdha, it means aprarabdha, it means the activity, doing the activity, it's already done, but it has to mature. It means the reaction is yet to take place. It means the reaction is in stock. So in future, at opportune time, the reaction, fructifies and becomes as prarabdha. So aprarabdha becomes prarabdha after some time. Now, there are 2 more, bija and kuta. Okay, so bija means at the time of doing an activity, either bad or good, a reaction began. And then it turns to be aprarabdha. And then prarabdha. So that's a sequence. And then the 4th one is kuta. So kuta means there is a tendency to do either bad or good. So that reactions come due to that tendency is called kuta. In other words, the kuta will turn as bija, and bija stage will turn as aprarabdha, and aprarabdha stage will turn as prarabdha. So our acharyas say that by doing bhakti activities, all these 4 stages of karmic reactions will be cleared off, will be burnt off by chanting the holy name and by transcendental knowledge.
Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Last question, Prabhu.
Okay, bro.
You are answering many questions that are not in Bhagavad Gita, like how the lifetime is fixed and how a soul has to wait if the person commits suicide, and the higher planets. How and where can one learn this?
I will find out the reference definitely, and please provide your contact. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, bro.
Prabhu, one more question has come, Prabhu. Uma
Yes.
ma'am is asking a question. Does a soul has a gender? If no, then why do we have this practice that women are prohibited to do spiritual services during their menstrual cycle? Is it mentioned in our Vedas or brought in between, and why?
See, this is not the only condition. There are many conditions for both men and women. Okay. The reason for these conditions is just to enhance our thoughts or our thought process in relation with the God. Suppose if you want to remember Krishna, okay, and if someone is forcing you not to remember Krishna, so where your thoughts will go? Naturally, your thoughts will be intensified to remember Krishna, right? So similarly, just to enhance our thoughts towards the Supreme Lord, certain conditions are given. Okay, these are the conditions for those reasons. But whoever develops that loving relation with God, they can overrule all rules. There is no strict restriction for such kind of person who developed, or who wanted to remember like that, the Lord like that, and serve the Lord like that. So all rules are have to be seen in that point of view. It's not just only for women. Even men also have many rules. But those rules are to intensify our loving feelings towards Lord. Suppose a person has a habit to go to temple every day out of affection, out of love for God. But if one rule says that and certain conditions you can't go to the temple, then just guess what the person feels. As a loving person, he feels his feelings, will be intensified more deeply. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. She is expressing her thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for answering all the questions.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
This opportunity for us to associate with you and share valuable knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, wisdom of words from Bhagavad Gita. We are very happy to hear from you. And in coming sessions also, we would like to hear from you, all of you. And many of them were very inquisitive to ask questions. They nicely asked questions on this matter of...
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.